one of the things that all of the political leaders, this has been one of my big arguments about this from the beginning, is that all the political leaders always use the term unprovoked. And there's a reason why they do. It's a reason why these liars always have to say unprovoked. That Vladimir Putin led an unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, the unprovoked war, every one of them. They're like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton, all the people in the press, all the freaking Republican establishment, they all say it's like this unprovoked war. And the reason they have to insist that it's unprovoked is because it was so clearly provoked. Like, it's so obvious that it was provoked. And if you admit that, it doesn't excuse Vladimir Putin, but it does at least put some of the blame on them. It's like, it's even weird that they would have to use the word. Like, you know, like, I don't know. Why would you even need to say that it was unprovoked? Wouldn't that be the assumption? If you're saying this guy's such a bad guy, it's like, you know, it's like if you're throwing rocks at a dog and then he snaps and like killed a bunch of people. And when the dog snaps and kills a bunch of people, you have to constantly say, this dog snapped and killed a bunch of people and no one threw any rocks at him. No one threw rocks at this dog. By the way, you're telling the story to the cops. What happened with the dog who attacked those kids? Well, let me start by saying no one threw rocks at him. That's the first thing I want to let you know. It's like, right? Isn't it almost like, it seems like something someone guilty would say, but they all repeat this line. But like, what does that even, how can anyone, you know, I was making this point in one of the last debates that I did on this topic, where I was saying, like, if you don't believe, let's say, that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, which everyone's admitted it wasn't. If you don't believe that Vladimir Putin hacked our election in 2016, which anyone paying attention knows was complete bullshit, no evidence has ever been provided that happened. Havana syndrome, which they've all backed off of and admitted was nonsense. Bounties on U.S. soldiers' heads in Afghanistan, they've all backed off and admitted that was nonsense. Okay, you would have to believe all of those stories are true to actually say that the U.S. has not been provoking Russia. Because if any one of those stories is a lie, which they all are, then that in itself is provocation. You have the intelligence agencies for the biggest war-hungry country in the world, the United States of America's federal government in Washington, D.C., the biggest war-hungry force in the world, is claiming that you committed an act of war against them. They're setting the pretense for some type of military aggression. Of course, that's a provocation. You know, like, imagine there was like a serial killer that just went around murdering people, but he always claimed he was only murdering bad guys. And then he started telling everyone in the world about how you were a really bad guy. Like every day, he just started talking about how you were a really bad guy. Do you think you might have to prepare to defend yourself? You might have to prepare to be like, oh shit, okay, I have reason to believe this guy might be trying to kill me next. And of course, according to William Perry, who was Bill Clinton's Secretary of Defense, according to William Perry, and he's said this for years now, he said that Vladimir Putin believes that there is a covert U.S. policy to assassinate or overthrow him. Now, I don't know if that's true. I'm just telling you that a former Secretary of Defense has told us that Vladimir Putin sincerely believes that. I don't know if it's true. Also, doesn't seem that crazy that it would be true. If any of us found that out, if there was a new leaker and that came out that was true, that it's been U.S. policy for a decade now that we want to overthrow Vladimir Putin, would that surprise any of you? Sure wouldn't surprise me. I highly doubt it would surprise any of you. It's not as if the U.S. government does not favor policies of political assassinations. It's not as if they don't favor policies of regime change. So that's the impression that Putin's under, okay? It doesn't make him a good guy. It doesn't make him justified for this war. Just saying that's what's going on here. He's under the impression that we are trying to kill him. And the reason why this is so stupid is because this is the only time you probably would use nuclear weapons, right? The big check on powers using nuclear weapons. Look, the reason why, think about this. The United States of America, since 1991, up until maybe this last year, has been, you know, the major force in the world. I think undeniably. The unipolar moment, as Charles Krauthammer called it, started in 1991. Soviet Union collapses, then the only superpower left is the USA. And we've run roughshod over the world since that time. We've started wars all over the place. I mean, I don't even know, like I'd probably miss one if I was trying to count them off. But all types of regime change wars, invasions, drone bombing campaigns, colored revolutions, just all around the world doing whatever we want to do. Because we're the most powerful country in the world and we can do it. We can get away with it. And the idiot neocons who ended up rising to power decided to implement those policies. But we've never nuked anyone. And why would we? Why would we not? I mean, in some, there, you know, you could argue they're more effective weapons than some. We dropped a ton of bombs, but we haven't dropped any nukes. So why is that? Why do we not do that? Well, because, you know, why would you do that when you're winning? When you're in a position of power, you're not going to nuke anybody because, you know, shit, if you drop a nuke, then there's just a chance that like one of these other nuclear armed countries might, you know, respond. And that they'd be like, hey, look, we can't allow this to happen. And so, of course, you don't do that when you're winning. We're not going to, there's no question that in, say, like, whatever, in 2014 or 2015, when Russia, you know, entered the war in Syria and got Bashar al-Assad's back to ensure that, you know, ISIS didn't take over Damascus. Well, why wouldn't the U.S. just nuke Russia? Well, because Russia can nuke us back. And then the whole world is going to be destroyed. So it's like when you're the winners, when you're dominating, that's a risk. You know, it's the end of human beings if we go to nuclear war. So you're not going to do that. The only time you might do that is if you thought you were going to die anyway. If you thought you were going to die anyway, you might want to go out with like, well, fuck you too. So we've convinced Putin that there's a U.S. policy to kill him. And now we've announced in front of the world that we're going to war with this guy. He overthrew our elections. He's putting bounties on our soldiers' heads. He illegally invaded Ukraine. And now, I mean, the last one's true, but, and now, you know, it's like, oh, we're giving them all the weapons until the job's done. You're going to lose a war right on your border, maybe even be attacked within your country, as these documents seem to indicate. And what does he think is next? And of course, you have the senile president of the United States on multiple occasions saying that our policy is regime change in Russia. Of course, the White House rushes to correct him, but those words still come out of his mouth. So we are like actively attempting to create the situation, the only scenario where we might actually go to nuclear war, in which case we all die. Could you think of a more reckless policy?